Today is July 1st. It's a new month, folks, and I've got a question for you. Where did the time go? Do you find yourself feeling like you're overwhelmed? It's summer. There's so many more chores to do on top of whatever duties and tasks you might have. And do you look at the clock and think, where did the time go? Well, I've got a technique that I use to kind of compartmentalize all the things that I have to do in a day. Now I'm retired, and I think I have more to do today and every day than I did when I was, a full-time employee. And what do I use to help me schedule my time or compartmentalize my time? It's an acronym, something that everybody seems to hate. But I was listening to Jocko's podcast this morning while I was getting stuff ready and going out and doing some of those monthly duties that we all have that just keep recurring around every month. And I was listening, and he brought up a really cool thing that I remember, that I used through my 20 plus years in the military. And it's funny now that I've been retired almost as long as what I served in the Marine Corps. 15 years out, 22 years in, I'm 55 years old. And I find myself now, as much as I did back in my operational days, using this funny acronym that's taught to us at a very young age in the military. It's called SMEAC. Situation, mission, execution, admin and logistics, and command and signals. Now I know if you've never been in the military, it's going to seem foreign. And I've heard it all from my civilian friends that have told me, you guys use all these acronyms and, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and all these different things. But here's a funny thing. I think I employ SMEAC as much now as I did then. Now, it's obviously because I was trained to do it, and being an operations chief the last part of my career, obviously I'm in the planning phase. And I shot this video about a month ago called the 7 Ps, Prior Proper Planning Prevents Piss Poor Performance. It's taught to me in boot camp. It's big, a big early learning curve that we get in the military. But why should it be only military? Why can't everybody else that's not in the military use SMEAC? So I'm going to give you an example. Situation. Now, we have a whole nother crew of acronyms that goes along in conjunction in an outlined approach when we use situation. But I'm going to keep it simple. What's your current situation? What's the situation with those above you and those below you? And how do you have support in that situation? Okay, so for most people, be simple. My job. Got to show up to my job. Well, if you're not the boss or the owner, they're going to give you direction. And that's going to come from higher. And then you're going to have, maybe you're on a team and your work's in amongst. And it doesn't matter. It could be in an office situation, or it could be in construction, welding, plumbing. It could be anything. So those around you, those adjacent to you, they might have input on that current situation. And the support you need. Maybe it's your tools. Maybe you're a guy like me that's not great with computers. Maybe it's a computer tech that's helping you refine something, or you've got a problem and you've got to call out. That's situation. It's whatever your situation is, and then everything else that helps you accomplish that situation. Well, that situation goes right into the next step, the mission. Well, the mission for most of us could be the job, the task, whatever it is you have to accomplish. That's the mission. It's not necessarily charging a hill or directing your guys on patrol or maybe jumping out of an airplane, or maybe taking your little CRC boat and, doing a hydrographic survey, I know most of y'all that's going to be foreign information. But that mission can be anything that's in front of you. And if you have a mission, you have a task, you have a job, well, you got to complete that job, right? That's the E, the execution. And how do you execute it? What's all the things that you need that you realize during the mission planning phase, the job planning phase, to execute that mission, to execute that task, execute that job? It's no different. Well, that leads me to the next step, administrative and logistics. And you see how this overlaps with your execution phase. Admin and logistics might be, well, I got to make sure my truck is filled up so I can get to work. Well, maybe I did that the night before, maybe I didn't. Well, if I didn't do it the night before and I'm running low on gas because gas is some astronomical figure, well, I'm going to have to leave 15 minutes early so I can put at least 5-10 gallons in my tank so I can get myself to work. Oh yeah, by the way, I better make sure that I filled my nail bag or I filled my tools and replace the ones I might have taken out working on something in the garage and put them back in my vehicle. Or hey, maybe it's I've got to remember that I've got a meeting and I've got to prep for that meeting. Well, all of the administrative logistical requirements we go through. We naturally do it. We think about the next day. That helps us with our time management. That's our planning, even when we're exhausted. And we think, well, okay, tomorrow, rinse, repeat on the next mission, the next task, the next job. And then lastly, command and signal. Now, command and signal is probably very foreign to people, but it is basically just how you're going to communicate and what are your directives, what are your orders. Okay, say you're that welder. Yeah, my son got out of the Marine Corps, he went straight into welding. Now he's a police officer, but you know what? His boss would give him a day's heads up and he would say, hey, I'm sending you out to this plant breakdown. That's the command. And here's what you're going to do. Here's who you're going to report to. Here's how long it might take. And here's the extra money I'm going to pay you because you're having to leave home for 2 or 3 days. I'll give you this much for a hotel. I'll give you this much for food, this much for gas. We think it'll take 2 to 3 days, but make sure you let me know if you get on site and it's not going to take maybe 1 day or maybe it's going to take 5 days, so that the person in command, the boss, can plan financially and accordingly. But then you can also say, hey, sweetheart, yeah, I know it's supposed to be only 3 days. I'm sorry, I'm going to be here 5 days. Signal, communications. So do all of that so that you can make sure that you accomplish the mission. It's very simple. Situation, mission, execution, admin logistics, command and signal. Something everybody can use, not just us in the military. Because I'm telling you, I use it more outside the military now than I think I did in the military. So if you like this video, I would ask you, please subscribe to my channel. Help me grow. And I'll try to get better at doing this. You know, somewhere up in here, I'm going to have a couple other videos that you can look at, and please critique me. Tell me how I did. You know, tell me what's good, what's bad. And more importantly, if you utilize these kind of skills, especially if you've never been in the military, what skills do you use that I pass along? How do you look at every day? How do you manage your time? How do you maintain focus? Now, if you like this, please like it. You can follow me on X at Spanky Gibson 71. It's more just my personal page. And yeah, I want to say thank you for being here. If you made it all the way to this point, I truly appreciate it. And you know, I look forward to that next video, and I look forward to answering your comments, because I'll answer them. I don't get a lot of comments, so it's easy to get back to you. Okay, hope you all have a wonderful first day of July, especially in preparedness this weekend. Y'all have a good day.